Hello and welcome to Everybody Pulls the Tarp. I'm your host, Andrew Moses, and with me today, I have a very special guest. Aaron Golub is my guest today. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Andrew, thanks so much for having me.
Aaron, it's great to have you. And for my audience, Aaron made history just a few years ago when he became the first legally blind Division I college football player in American history. He entered the game at Tulane University and was the long snapper in a great moment, and then went on to have a great career at Tulane, captain senior year, and just has a phenomenal story of overcoming challenges and adversity. And you're spreading all those great messages to the world. And I'm looking forward to talking all about that with you today, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Aaron, where I want to begin is maybe what drew your interest to football in the first place? How did you get started in football?
Yeah, I mean, I always played sports growing up. I always loved doing things. It wasn't always team sports. Sometimes was. I mean, I played Little League growing up. As you can imagine, that did not go very well. I think I stopped playing after parents stopped pitching because I couldn't hit the baseball. But then around 7th grade, I decided I really want to play a team sport again. And I want to find something that's going to work well for me. And I found football, and I figured, I love the game. I could play. And so I started off and I played as an offensive and defensive lineman. And that's what I played for the first few years until I switched over to long snapper.
So what led to the decision to switch to long snapper? Was it just a natural fit for you? From a position standpoint?
So I think 7th grade through sophomore year of high school, I was on the team. I was playing football, but I wasn't really playing football. And by that, I mean, I would play, the end of the game if my team was up big or down big. And that's not playing football. That's playing because the coach is sympathetic for you and wants to let you get in the game. So I basically said to myself, what can I do to be a starter? I also want to play in college. So what can I do to play in college? Not only was I legally blind, but I was very undersized. I was never going to be, a 300-pound center or defensive tackle. So that was kind of out. I couldn't play wide receiver. I couldn't just catch the ball. So I figured, if I get good enough at long snapping, then maybe I can have a shot. And that was a big if because, just because, I thought I might have a shot, I still had to work extremely hard at it.
Sure. Now, when I want to just clarify for the audience, when you talk about legally blind, why don't you give the audience some perspective about what your vision is like? Because I know you have, as I understand it, no vision in one eye and very limited vision in the other.
Yeah. So I was born legally blind, and for me, what that means is I have no vision in my right eye at all, and my left is very limited. So if you take kind of your thumb and your pointer finger, make a circle, then you make that circle smaller to maybe like 2/3 the size of a dime, and you put that hole in front of your eyeball. That's about the field of vision in my left eye. But then through that field of vision, an average person will see 20/20 vision. My vision through that small hole is about 2,200. So what that means is what you see at about 200 feet away, I'll see it about 20 feet away.
So how did it, and this may seem like an obvious question, I guess, but I really am curious. I mean, how did it affect you as you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely things that were more challenging for me than other people. It's mostly the little things, honestly. I mean, the hardest things for me are like crossing the street or like cooking dinner, small things like that. I mean, growing up, I was really fortunate that my parents never, just did something for me just for the sake of doing it and getting things done. They would have much rather see me struggle and challenge me and eventually figure it out than just do it for me in the beginning. And that kind of instilled this, mindset, I guess, of, you need to work for your goals. You need to be challenged. You need to learn. Because if they just did everything for me to make it easier for me, I would have never learned from all those experiences when I was a little kid.
That's really interesting. So what you're saying is they made a really conscious effort to make sure that they didn't just do everything for you. They let you struggle. They let you kind of find your own way and figure out your own solutions.
Absolutely. They would never just do something for me. I mean, if I was spending, an absurd amount of time on something, then sure, they might help me out. But they would really much rather have seen me learn from it and grow and challenge myself. Because if, take something simple. I don't know. Let's say I'm a little kid and I'm learning to tie my shoe, and it's hard for me to see the laces or something, and it's taking me a while to do. If they just do it for me, then I'm never going to learn how to tie my shoe. But if they tell me how to do it and then force me to figure it out on my own, then I'm going to learn how to do it and know how to do it. And that kind of applies to everything in life.
So really, they took that philosophy, and you took that philosophy with you throughout life, and even we'll get to the story at Tulane and your experience there. But as you get into high school, was it the same way? They wanted you to really figure things out.
Yeah. I mean, by that time, I'd lived with my vision my entire life, so things, definitely were easier than when I was a little kid. But there's always challenges, and I really had to figure things out on my own. I wanted to be really good at football, and I really wanted to push myself. And they never pushed me to be good at football, but they allowed me the situation to succeed in football. And by that I mean, once I chose to switch over to long snapping, I got up at 5 a.m. every day and went to school to practice every single day, because I knew that I had to practice every day and work 10 times harder than everyone else if I wanted to be successful. My dad would never say, "Hey, you want to go tomorrow morning?" But he would go with me every morning. He would go and catch my snaps. He would go and help me work on my form. He never once said, "Aaron, do you want to go and snap today? It's Saturday." But if I asked him, he would go help me. He was never going to push me. But if I wanted to do it and I had the mindset, if I need to do this to succeed, he would help me in any way he could.
That's really interesting. And as you and I have talked, Aaron, like, this show is called Everybody Pulls the Tarp. And it's based on a philosophy that I have, that great teams and great organizations are powered by individuals who contribute far beyond the boundaries of their job description. And what you talked about there is really interesting, right? You said you had to work 10 times harder than anybody else to get where you wanted to go. Was there a particular moment that you realized that you knew you were just going to have to work that much harder than anybody else around you?
Yeah, and I guess to clarify, I wouldn't even say 10 times harder to be, better than other people. I would say I had to work 10 times harder to be just as good as other people. Then I had to push myself even further. So 10th grade, sophomore year of high school, I really picked up long snapping. And that next summer, I was going to go to a camp to, improve, get better, get nationally ranked. And I thought, I was snapping every day. I thought I was going to do really well. And I get there and the ball just flies over the punter's head, and I got ranked terribly. And I saw everyone else around me, and I was like, wow, so I'm snapping every day, and this just, I'm still terrible. I'm a horrible long snapper. And I think after that camp, it clicked that I really need to figure this out. I need to put a plan into place and figure out what I need to do to work 10 times harder than everyone around me if I want to be as good as them. And, it was plain and simple.
How did you go about, I'm really interested in this plan, because I love when people, set a goal and put a plan in place, and then they chip away at that plan. So how did you go about putting that plan in place?
Yeah, I think there were 3 segments to it, and it was snapping, getting stronger, and getting bigger. And so the plan for snapping was, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. every day. I'm going to go practice snapping before school. It was what it was, and I had to do that if I wanted to be successful. Then every single day, regardless if I had practice after school or not, I would go lift weights, because I knew I had to get a lot stronger. But then I was still undersized, so I had to figure out a plan so I could eat a lot more, because I had to put on weight. It wasn't just about snapping and lifting weights. I had to find a way to put on weight so I could play at college. I could have been the best long snapper in the world, but if I didn't gain weight, I was never going to play at college.
So at what point do everybody, it seems like, has that moment, right, where they know they might be able to do this thing at the next level? Was there a moment where you realized in high school, hey, I might be able to do this in college at a Division I level?
Yeah, so, I think the next summer between my junior and senior year, I was contacting schools. I had a much better film, and some schools were starting to really respond to me. And I was going to these camps, and I was getting ranked pretty highly. And as soon as I really started to get ranked really highly, then I was like, all right, this is going to happen. I just need to keep pushing myself. So I think that probably a year after that summer where I went to a camp and was terrible, I went back to more camps, and I was snapping really well.
So tell me about the connection to Tulane. And I know Tulane is a fun place. I told you before, my oldest childhood friends is a Tulane graduate. I spent some time there. It is a fun place. There is no question. It's a phenomenal school, phenomenal community. I love the food, and of course, all the revelry. But what drew you to Tulane?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was literally contacting every single school in the country. I mean, to the point that I was probably bothering so many coaches. I would send like 5 emails, and if they wouldn't respond after like the fifth email, I would take them off my list. And I'm sure I was a pest to many coaches around the country. But you know what? That's what you got to do if you want to achieve your goals. Um, Finally got to the point where I had 2 offers to play. D1. I had a couple others, other levels, but for D1 it was Tulane and University of Illinois. And I really compared them, and I said Tulane's a much better fit for me. The size is better, the culture is better. I think I took some advice from a coach that said, pick a school that if something happens, God forbid you can't play football anymore, you'll be happy going to school.
That's
And
it.
that was Tulane. I loved playing football there, but if something happened, I would have had a fantastic time, as you know, at Tulane.
That's a great that's great advice, right? Because in many ways that gives you a fallback plan, even though you never want to have to rely on that fallback plan because it wasn't what your goal was.
Yeah.
I loved the 5 email whatever it was 4 or 5 emails to every coach.
Yeah.
How do you in any business in any sport in any industry, um, successful people have to deal with rejection and
Yeah.
have to be persistent. What how do you deal with I don't want to say rejection, but
Yeah.
all of us have those emails we send that you don't hear from, or that solution you're trying to come up with that you just can't figure out. How do you deal with rejection, or I don't want to say failure, but you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, first off, I don't see failure is a bad thing. I see it as a good thing. I see that failure is only bad if you don't learn from why you failed. And I don't make the same mistake twice because I fail probably more times than most people in the world, but I learn from every time I fail. And you just need to keep getting back up. If you really want to achieve something, you need to get up every time you're down. I mean, right now, I've broken into motivational speaking. I've been speaking all over, but really trying to jumpstart it even more and get to the point where I'm, a national top speaker. I've created a list in, Excel, again, every single college football team of every single level in the country, and I'm working my way through every single one. And I will email every single college or every single athletic director in the country until some of them start giving me a chance.
Aaron, I hope at least as a result of us talking here, there's at least 1 or 2 coaches out there. We've got a lot of coaches who follow this program or this show. Maybe we can get you 1 or 2 at least, but you're well on your way to many. So how do you go about learning from the failures? I mean, do you have a system? Do you take notes? Do you lodge them in your memory bank? How do you learn from I know you don't call them failures, but how do you learn from those challenges?
I think the issue is every situation is different and every response from everyone is different. And so in life, you really need to learn to adapt to your situation. Nothing's ever going to be the same, and you need to be able to think on your feet. I mean, it's pretty much simple like that. There's no trick. There's no one answer. You just have to figure it out as you go and learn and adapt. I mean, really push yourself to get past whatever barriers in your way. But, something as simple as sending out emails, for example, there's no failure in the sense that, okay, maybe if, the first 300 don't respond, okay, maybe I'll take a look at my wording of the email and figure it out. But, for something like that, I've spent a lot of time on the wording and on the formatting of everything I'm sending. So it's more about getting the right person at the right time. But in everything you're doing, there's a way to fix it. There's a way to adjust. I mean, in football, I've realized I was never going to be a offensive lineman in college, so I had to accept my situation and I adapted. I adapted and found a position that would work for me.
One of the things I want to get into is the Golub goggles. I've heard about these famous Golub goggles that a doctor created for you at a very early age. Talk about the Golub goggles for a minute. It's really interesting.
Yeah, so my eye doctor at a very young age created these goggles that essentially simulate my vision. As we explained earlier, kind of the right eye is blocked off, the left eye has that really small hole. And, teammates, coaches put them on to kind of see what my vision is like. And, we had a lot of fun playing where, guys would want to put on the goggles and see what it was like to catch a football or walk around the locker room or do something like that, see if they could do it. It's a great time.
Do you think that helped at times? Your teammates understand a little bit about what you were going through?
I mean, I think it definitely helped in some cases of, people would put them on and then be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that this was as bad as your vision was or something like that. I think people understood and would help me in any way I could. But once they put them on, I think they really got a good sense of what my field of vision was.
Sure. Let's fast forward to Tulane a bit. We've talked about high school. We've talked about some of your childhood years. Let's talk about Tulane. So you get to Tulane, like we said, and in 2015 October, you get called upon by the coach at a moment's notice to go long snap in the game, and you make history. Yep. First legally blind Division I college football player in American history. So talk about that moment for a minute. It must have been an amazing moment.
Yeah, I mean, I had a feeling that sooner or later I was going to go in. Just, it didn't necessarily mean that game, but sooner or later, because I was, getting more reps of practice. I was doing really well. My coach was, building that relationship with me, and he really liked me. So I figured whenever the opportunity came, I was going to get a chance. And I didn't expect it, and I got called in, and I just went in. And it was amazing. I mean, it was a great feeling. I didn't think about the whole making history part. I just thought about, I'm going out and getting to play football, playing the game that I love.
And how did you? I always ask people, when you're doing something like that for the first time. Now you're doing it, in a game in front of a big audience. But it's something that you've probably done, thousands and thousands of times in your life. To your point, it's a long snap. You've done it at 5 a.m. for days on end with your dad and with teammates. But so how do you in that moment focus and make sure you can calm the nerves and get the job done?
Yeah, I mean, when I first ran out there, I was definitely nervous. I had a lot of adrenaline, but you have to realize it's the same thing you've done thousands, tens of thousands of times. And you just have to take a couple deep breaths and relax and realize that, you know what you're doing and it's going to be fine. It's the same thing as a golf swing. If you go out and you swing the club and you do it 1,000 times, it should be the same swing all the time. So it's the same thing. As soon as the ball releases my hands, I know exactly on the punter's tip where it's going, or exactly in the holder's hands where it's going. And I know if it's good or bad snap right away.
Was there one of the things I'm curious, like in your time at Tulane, your football career at Tulane, was there any particular hurdle that you ran into and you said, I don't know if I can do this at this level, or I don't know if I'm good enough, or this challenge, because of my vision is just too big for me to surmount? Was there ever a moment that you just felt like you were really up against it more so than before?
So I think the biggest thing was 2 months after, I snapped for the first time, my coaching staff got fired. We went 3-9 that year, and they got replaced. And I was very nervous because I didn't know if the new staff was going to be willing to work with me, what was going to happen. And Coach Fritz came in, and first off, he's an amazing coach. He's done so much for me and continues to help me to this day. But at first, he and I were both nervous. We didn't know what to think, if it was going to work out. And we basically just decided, let's do spring ball and let's see what happens. Did spring ball, did really well. Never had the discussion again. 2 years later, I was named one of our team captains because of the hard work and the effort that I proved to him that I could do it.
Let's talk about being named captain. So, the hard work and the dedication that you put in, showed him that was a title you were deserving of. But what is it like to be a team captain? How does the responsibility change?
I mean, it's awesome. I've really enjoyed it. I was so thankful that he named me one of them during the season. It meant so much to me, just being a leader on the team, being respected by the coaches. You don't just do it to do it. He did it because he trusted me. He respected me. He thought of me as a leader, and that meant a lot and still does mean a lot. I mean, that was probably one of the greatest honors of my life because of the turnaround. When he showed up to Tulane, and he and I were both very nervous. But then 2 years later, it came full circle, and I was named one of our captains. I mean, it just shows it all right there, the difference in what I showed him and how our relationship grew over those 2 years.
And how did the relationship truly develop? Did he see the work ethic? What do you think was really the driving force between that? Because you used the word relationship there, which is really an important word in any aspect of any team organization. Relationships are key. What was it that really helped build that relationship?
Yeah. No, and I want to be clear. I mean, when he came, he never said anything of you can't play or anything. He was very supportive. He just was unsure of how to do it at first. And I think just the fact that I pushed myself every single day in the weight room, every single day on the field, off the field, in the classroom, every single thing that I was doing, I pushed myself to my limits, and he saw that. I mean, they're around you. Coaches are around you all the time, and they know who's working hard and they know who's not working hard. They know who's putting in the effort. And he saw that in me on a daily basis, that I was pushing myself as hard as I could. And he just grew, the respect grew and grew and grew throughout the 2 years that he was there with me.
It's always amazing to me, right? That the true leaders, are often the first ones in, the last ones out. They do the extra time in the weight room. They get up at 5 a.m. to get those extra, long snaps in. It's amazing how often those who, you obviously have a massive talent and skill for the long snap, but it also, requires work and dedication and focus. And, it's a true testament to your work ethic. You talk a lot about passion. Where do you get the passion, and how do you gin up the passion?
Yeah, I mean, I think just for me, at least, it's an internal drive. And with that, I don't do things in life, or try not to do things in life, that I'm not passionate about, that I don't love doing. Because, I've learned that if I really love doing something, or I'm truly passionate about something, I will be successful in it, because I'll push myself to ridiculous limits. I mean, limits that most people couldn't even imagine. But if I don't enjoy doing something, if I don't love doing something, I'm really not going to work that hard in it, because I don't like doing it. And so you really need to pick things that you enjoy doing. And, I love football. I still love football. I love what I'm doing with speaking and with my regular job. And because of that, I push myself to limits that most people wouldn't, because I enjoy the work I do. It's not like having a job. I love speaking. I love being able to impact and influence the lives of others.
I want to talk about that for a minute, because there must be people all around the country that hear your story and are inspired, regardless of what challenge they're facing or adversity they might be facing. How does that make you feel?
It's awesome. I mean, I love it. During college and high school, I was never into the whole interview thing. I didn't really like it. And a coach of mine, if you help 2 other people from doing this interview, you should do it. So I did it because of that in high school and college. But, over the past few years, I've really matured in the sense that I love doing it because I know that I'm creating an impact. I know that I'm inspiring the lives of others and really helping other people. And because of that, it's so much fun. I really enjoy doing it. And it makes me feel amazing knowing that my speech or this podcast can really help someone who might be in a tough or dark situation.
Aaron, you're an absolute inspiration to us all. I mean, congratulations on all of your accomplishments. It's just amazing to hear, the work that you put in, the way you set the goal and built the plan and went about executing it to achieve your dreams. We're all rooting for you. I know you're going to accomplish big things in your new career, your post-football career. And it's been so much fun talking to you, hearing your story. And again, you are an absolute inspiration to us all. And I know there are going to be a lot of people out there that hear this show or hear your speech on any stage in the future and are truly inspired to make a difference and achieve their dreams.
I really appreciate that. And, I'm looking forward to continuing this. And thank you again for having me.
It's been a great pleasure. Aaron Golub, thank you for joining. Everybody pulls the tarp.